Morning for today we're adding fractions. So I just wanted to explain to you what one whole looks like as a fraction. So here, look, you've got 1/5 because this bar is split into 5 and 1 is coloured. This is 3/5, 2/5, 4/5. So a whole would be 5/5. So when the denominator and the numerator are the same, that is the same as one whole. So another way that a number as a fraction could be a whole is 6/6 or 7/7, 8/8, 9/9, 10/10. So when the denominator and numerator are the same, that is the same as a whole. So if we were looking at this, for it to be a whole, 5/5 would be coloured in, not 4/5. Okay, so that represents a whole when the denominator and numerator are the same. So when we're adding fractions, it's quite straightforward to begin with. The denominator always stays the same, so you don't add the denominator. So here you wouldn't do 5 add 5, the denominator would just be 5 because there are 5 pieces. Okay, so here look, it says 1/5 and 3/5. So you've got 1/5 and 3/5. When you put them together, it looks like this, it looks like 4/5. So when adding fractions, the denominator stays the same, you don't add the denominator, you just add the numerator. So as I just said, if you've got 1/5 and 3/5 and you put them together, it looks like this, and that becomes 4/5. Okay, the same again, but I'm going to add a step to it now. So here, we're looking at the picture. We're adding two different fractions. So the first fraction, look, is 1, 2, 3, 4/5. I'm going to write 4/5 there. And the other fraction is 2/5. Now, what did I say happened to the denominator? It stays the same. You don't add it. So I know it's out of 5. And then I'm going to add my numerator. So 4 and 2 is 6/5. Now, I want to change this into a mixed number fraction because right now this is an improper fraction, look, because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So here is what 6/5 looks like. So you've got 4 plus 2, so they've coloured them in here. There's your 4, there's your 2. Now, what does that look like as a mixed number fraction? So this is your whole, look. You've got one whole bar covered in, and then what is your fraction? Well, you've got one coloured in out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6/5, which is what we did when we added the two fractions together, if you convert that into a mixed number, is one whole and 1/5. Now, that's showing you pictorially. I just want to show you how you could work that out, that was one whole, because you're looking at 6/5. Okay, so in this number 6, you've got one lot of 5 because 5 is the denominator. So you've got one lot of 5. So 5 goes into 6 one time. And then what have you got left over? Well, if 5 goes into 6 one time, then we're at 5. And then you've got one left over to get to 6. So you've got one left over to get to 6. And the denominator will always be the same, which is 5. So just to go through that again, you're adding the numerator. 4 add 2 is 6. The denominator stays the same. That's the first part, nice and easy. That's an improper fraction. If it's not an improper fraction, if this was 5/6 and the numerator was smaller than the denominator, you wouldn't need to change it into a mixed number. Only when the numerator is bigger than the denominator do you need to change it into a mixed number. And the way you do that is, how many of the denominator go into the numerator? Well, that's 1. And how many is left over? 1. And then the denominator stays the same. Okay, let's do a few more examples because I don't want to confuse you. So again, what two numbers fractions are we adding? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4/5, and then we're adding 3/5. Okay, remember, denominator stays the same, and then I add my numerator. So 4 and 3 is 7. So we've got 7/5, so that's the first step, nice and easy. Here's what it looks like pictorially. Now, we are going to work out what this looks like as a mixed number fraction. Well, as you can see from the picture, you've got one whole, and then you've got 2 parts coloured in here, and it's 2 out of 5 parts. Now, again, just to explain in case you didn't have the picture in front of you how you would solve that. You know it's one whole because 5 goes into 7 once. And then if you're at 5 and you need to get to 7, you go 6, 7, so that's 2 left over, 2 parts left over, and the denominator will be 5 because the denominator stays the same. Right, so let's have a go at a couple more. So here you've got 6 sevenths and 4 sevenths, and it's saying what does that make? It makes one whole and what fraction? Well, first of all, I just want you to add the fractions. So 6 add 4 is 10, and the denominator is 7 because the denominator stays the same. Now, 7 fits into 10 once, so that's where your one whole comes from. Now we're at 7 and we need to get to 10, so how many more is that? 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 3 left over, and you know the denominator is 7 because it stays the same. Right, another one. So we've got 3 sevenths and 5 sevenths. Make how many wholes and what fraction? Well, again, can you add the fractions for me? So 3 add 5 is 8. Just do this on the side, out the way. And you know the denominator will be 7 because the denominator stays the same. Now, I want to know how many wholes, numbers, and then what fraction this makes. So 7 goes into 8 once, so it makes one whole. If we're at 7 and we need to get to 8, how many parts are left over? Well, there's one part left over. And you know the denominator is going to be 7 because it stays the same. Okay, this is your activity today. So you've got pictures and you're just adding the fractions. So here, look, you've got 2/3 and 2/3. Make one whole and what fraction? So I want you to add the 2 and the 2 together. That will give you 4. I'll do this one with you. And you know the denominator is 3 because it stays the same. So you can do that at the side like that. Now you're going to have to write here what it is as a whole number and a fraction. It's already telling you what it is as a whole number, but we'll check anyway. 3 goes into 4 once, making one whole, and then you need to write the fraction. So if 3 goes into 4 once and you're at 3, you need to get to 4. That's 1 left over, and you know the denominator is going to stay as 3. Now just so I can show you that, if you're adding these two together, that would go into there, wouldn't it, and make a whole, and then you've got 1/3 left over. So have a go at those. The rule to remember is add the numerators together, keep the denominator the same. Then if you've got an improper fraction where the numerator is larger than the denominator, you need to change it into a mixed number fraction. So how many of the denominators go into the numerator? That's your whole number, and then whatever's left over becomes your numerator and your denominator stays the same. Always remember the denominator stays the same. If you need any help, message us on the blog. If not, I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye.